Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Let's Argue. We are live at the Velvet Room 3348 in Berkeley. If you're up and not doing anything, you didn't go to church, bring your butt down here so we can have a conversation. So again, like I said, we're live at the Velvet Room over here in Berkeley, 334A. So happy to be back with you. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a blessed morning. Let's get started off on a good note. So we have a great topic today. We have a couple people in the studio audience, so I appreciate everybody that showed up. We still have seats left, so come on down. So the subject matter today is what are the intangibles in relationships? So I'm not sure if that was the correct title, but that was the best I can come up with at the time. So I want you to take a look at the video and then kind of give me your thoughts on what you feel the young lady is saying. But before we do that, if you're tuning in from Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and hashtag I'm outside, let's argue. Go ahead and drop that into the chat window for me now. You know that we always play games on this show that are inspired by Black game artists. And these are just one of the games. This here is lyrically correct oldies but goodies, and then we have lyrically correct 90s and 2000 hip hop version. I think we're gonna go with the oldies but goodies. I love oldies but goodies, so we're gonna go with the oldies but goodies. So before my people in the studio audience, the one thing we do is we promote healthy, robust conversation. So in the spirit of that, if it gets kind of out of hand, because we still have a show we got to run, if I say put it in check, all I want you to say is show some respect. And then we want to end the conversation right there so we can move on and keep the conversation flowing in a manner so that everybody can be involved and everybody can be heard. Is everybody okay with that? All right. Awesome. I love to hear it. All right. So remember, put it in check, show some respect. And then we just going to keep the conversation going. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video. And then all I want you to do is just kind of take a look at the video, see what the young lady is saying, and then kind of give me your thoughts and feedback. All right, here we go.
Everything.
That's not true. I believe that tangibly, men have to come with way more, but intangibly, women have to come with way more. And the intangibles are way harder than the tangibles. So who's working harder? I think that in order for a man to really get the type of woman that he wants, yes, you do have to be successful mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, and energetically. Yeah. But I know that a lot of women will settle for just financially. And that sucks. But a lot of men use that as a crutch.
That is true.
Like, oh, this is enough. No, it's not.
Because they define their worth in their network.
Yeah.
But that's because the world made it seem like men are only valuable if they got money.
And they make it seem like women are only valuable if they're beautiful.
Yikes.
It's just the truth. That's why beauty is a part of being high value for a masculine man, because the first thing that they look for is physical.
All right. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, I really think she made some very valid points as it relates to the intangibles and how society looks at men and how society looks at women. A woman is really only valued based off her beauty, and a man is only valued based off of the amount of money that he has or the amount of money that he makes. But what I want to talk about something is a little bit more substantive, like what things she talked about, those intangibles. She was saying that men have to bring more tangible stuff to the table, but women have to bring more intangible stuff to the table. And it's much harder. That's where I give a little pushback, because I feel like if men have to bring all these tangible things to the table, and women they want more than just the financial part, I feel like our stuff is a little harder. But the one thing I always say is when I talk about these subjects is I feel like we always battling one another. Like it's always a, well, we doing this and y'all doing that. Like that's the part, but I know it makes for interesting conversation, because it's always a matter of whose trauma is more, who's doing more, who's not doing enough. I want to kind of get past that and hopefully come to some, and once we've done, while we're having this conversation, hopefully come to some medium ground where we can agree like, hey, we both need to step up a little bit in the things that we're doing and respect what the other person is doing or what the other person is bringing to the table. So let's talk about it again. Hashtag I'm outside. Let's argue. So if you're new to the show, I just want to talk about the flags here. So the black flag is really just, hey, if you like what we're talking about today, go ahead and raise your black flag. If you like the subject matter, we're just saying that you're in agreement with what we're talking about today. If you do not like what's being said, then you want to put up your red flag. If you just like totally disagree with the comments that's being made, not so much the subject matter or what the comments that's being made. But let's say you want to make a comment, you go ahead, raise your green flag, and we'll bring you up here in the studio audience. If you want to make a comment about what's going on, say if you want to come in the virtual studio, then you want to raise your yellow flag and then just come on up. I'm sorry, raise your yellow flag if you agree with the subject matter and you just want to make a comment, and then we'll get you right where you are in the studio audience. Okay, so these are pretty much for the studio audience. So let's go over it again, so I won't make it confusing for everybody. Black flag if you agree with what's going on, the subject matter. We want you to just raise this flag. If you totally disagree with the comments that's being made in the studio or online, just raise your red flag. If you want to come on stage here in the virtual studio with me, raise your green flag. And if you got it, you can also put it in the emoji and then we'll get you into the studio. We'll send you a link. If you want to make a comment, you'll raise your yellow flag. All right. So let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Like I said, we already had some people who already kind of comment. One guy, his name is my boy Ken, said respect and gratitude goes a long way. Those are one of the things he mentioned that are one of the intangibles that doesn't cost money. So I want to get feedback from you all as to what do you feel are the intangibles that each person can bring to the relationship that don't cost money. And let's just talk about the main topic based off what the sister said. Do women bring more to the table as far as intangibles? They have to work a little bit harder, or do you feel that men bring more to the table as far as intangibles to the table, and do they have to work a little bit harder? So I want to get your thoughts on that. What do you feel? What's your perspective on this? So go ahead and drop those comments in the chat. Mike says, what the fuck that mean in reality talk? He want to know, what does that mean? Nicole says sexual compatibility, true friendship, good communication. Okay. Yep. So my perspective is, as far as men are concerned, the intangibles, and this is not just men, just women. I saw a video the other day where they were talking about balance. So it just kind of made me laugh. So the husband was, he just got out the shower. So he took his towel. Now, mind you, the basket for the laundry was right there by the door, but he took it and he dropped it right there outside the laundry basket. The wife came up, picked it up, put it in the basket. Wife comes in the door. She forgets to lock the door behind her. The husband sees this. He goes to the door, locks the door. The topic of it was balance. And I think those are the intangibles that each party bring to the relationships. The thing is, you have to, and I've gotten this wisdom from a lot of married couples who have got a lot of skin in the game. You have to pick your battles. And I do it. Part of it was funny because I'm like, bro, the basket was just right there. You know what I'm saying? But I also laugh because when I'm in the kitchen cooking, my wife, like, why he didn't put this up? Now, but because she didn't said it to me so enough, I am conscious that I try to make sure I put whatever I'm using in the kitchen, I put it up. But there might be this one thing I leave on the counter, and here she comes. But she told me in private, like, she's like, I just pick it up, because why am I going to argue, fuss at you about that? I just go ahead and just pick it up. Why am I getting mad with you about that? I go ahead and pick it up. But I also let her know I am conscious of the fact that that's something I do, and it's not a deal breaker, but I know it bothers. So I go ahead and I try to make sure that I put those things up if I'm in the kitchen and I'm using it, and I just pick it up. But as far as that video is concerned, it was talking about balance, and those are the things I think that you have to understand when you're in a relationship, whether you're married or not. Pick your battles, and you have to respect what each person is bringing to the relationship as far as tangibility and intangibility, and those are the intangible things that you don't count. Somebody may be coming behind you, locking that door behind you. husband opening up the car door for his wife, taking his wife's car to go get it washed or cleaning it out, wife making sure that she's his favorite meal is prepared for him when he gets home, or whatever it is. Those things that you can't put a dollar amount on. Those are the intangibles. And what I want to know is I want everybody to kind of talk about what do you think are the intangibles that you bring to your relationship, or what do you consider are intangibles that maybe people just discount and might take for granted. So that's what I want to talk about today as well. I do want to play the video one more time just so we can get the young lady's perspective again, and then we can get some comments from the people either at home or in the studio audience.
Why is it that most women can come with nothing, but men have to come with everything?
That's not true. I believe that tangibly.
And I want to stop right there. So I do disagree. Like I agree with the sister when she was about to say, no, women don't have to come, because they do. And that's the thing where I feel like we bump heads, is because women will say, no, we do. Whether we come to the table financially or not, we do come with things. Some women don't, and some men don't. But I believe women come with things that, again, we don't, because men are physical, we can't necessarily quantify the things that women come with because we can't put a dollar amount to it. And I think that's where the disconnect comes in. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish playing the video.
Men have to come with way more, but intangibly, women have to come with way more. And the intangibles are way harder than the tangibles. So who's working harder? I think that in order for a man to really get the type of woman that he wants, yes, you do have to be successful mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, and energetically.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of women will settle for just financially. And that sucks. But a lot of men use that as a crutch.
That is true.
Like, oh, this is enough. No, it's not.
Because they define their worth in their network.
Yeah.
But that's because the world made it seem like men are only valuable if they got money.
And they make it seem like women are only valuable if they're beautiful.
Yikes.
It's just the truth. That's why beauty is a part of being high value for a masculine man, because the first thing that they look for is physical.
And that's very interesting, because I feel like, I've gotten this from a lot of women, including, having many conversations with my wife, that women do value their beauty because we place such a high value on that. And men, same difference. We value our financial status because women place such a high value on that, and society places such a high value on both. So I think sometimes we overburden ourselves on both perspectives, when really, I think once you get to a certain age or then lived enough life where you don't really look at that kind of stuff, because guess what? Your beauty is going to fade to some degree, because you're going to get older. You know what I'm saying? And then I always tell this story. I was at the dentist one time, and there was this woman. She was working on my mouth, helping cleaning my teeth, and she said her husband was a very prominent attorney. They were making good money. I think they had a house in I think it might have been West Bloomfield. They were making really good money. He fell ill. His financial status fell dramatically. So they weren't able to live the life that she was accustomed to for years. She had to go back to work. She was a stay-at-home wife. She didn't have to work. And she said, but her and her husband, like I said, they had a lot of skin in the game. I want to say they were probably married close to 30 years. But she said it was like an eye-opening for her, because she had her husband health failing. He wasn't able to put in the hours that he was normally able to put in his attorney's business. So she had to go to work. And I only say that to say, you get older, so the beauty fades, and then life happens. The rubber meets the road. So now his financial status changed. She had to go to work. So the life happens. So I think that you have to also put into perspective, like, does that really matter? How does the person treat me? How do they make me feel value when we're alone, or even when we're in the public space? How do they support me? How do they uplift me? And not so much how they got me looking when I'm out in public, as far as like, am I shining? Am I dripping? You know what I'm saying? So I think we need to, while I understand some of those things are important, how important are they? How important are they? So again, I want you to, if you are at home, go ahead and drop that. If you're tuning in from Facebook or YouTube, hashtag I'm outside, let's argue, drop that in the chat window for me. And give me your thoughts. So we do have some people in the studio audience. Does anybody have any comments? Do you feel, what do you think about what the young lady had to say? Come on up. Yeah, no, you don't need it with you. You can just come on up and have a seat in this chair right here.
All right.
Yep, let's go ahead and have a seat.
All right.
Ouch. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. All right. Yep. And just go ahead and talk. The mic will pick up whatever you.
Okay.
Yeah. Introduce yourself.
My name is Ken.
Ken.
Hello,
all right,
everybody.
Ken. Nice to meet you.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
if I feel like if a guy knows what he does really want, I do think it's harder for women.
Okay.
Personally, and the reason being
Harder for women in the sense of the intangibles being brought to the relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
And the reason being, I think about my own personal situation when I got to the point where I was mature enough to realize I wanted to look for, when I finally got to a point where I was looking for a wife.
Mm-hmm.
When I got old enough to look for a wife, and what I mean by that is I was past the pretty and, you know, whatever. I was looking for other things. I had some changes in my life.
Your wife's attractive, though. You
my
find her
wife,
attractive.
yeah, my wife is attractive. Yeah,
I want to say you ain't get your own food.
Right. My wife, my wife is attractive, but I looked beyond that.
Okay,
you know,
okay.
I was looking for others. I had some changes in my life, and it made me look beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found that there were a lot of women that I thought wanted to be married, but didn't want to be wives. You know, and what I mean by that is, I think marriage is, it's not a full thing of happiness on both parts. Marriage is like a sacrifice.
Okay.
And it's what you do for the betterment of the family.
Okay.
And I think a lot of times, just what I've seen in my past and growing up, a lot of times men do what's best for the family, even if it means sometimes that they're unhappy, they're going to do what's right for the family, etc. And I think a lot of our old school women.
You okay? I was going to say,
okay.
yeah. I just want to make sure it don't. Okay, go ahead.
I think a lot of our old school women did that.
So I'm going to say this because I know it's going to be some women that's going to chime in on this.
Yeah.
You don't think women make sacrifices?
I don't think women nowadays are as willing to make sacrifices as they once were. I think women now put their, not all women, I'm speaking in general.
Okay.
I think women's own happiness is put in front of a family's happiness. And I think that causes issues with when a man is looking for a mate, for a long-term mate, for a wife. Are
you saying that in terms of their career?
In general, it doesn't have to be just career. It
Okay.
can be, unhappiness in the home. It can be anything. So that's one point.
Okay.
Other thing for the intangibles. This whole bring it to the table, etc. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think a lot of social media has put out there that we see these lives that these people are living, and we put out there, we're supposed to be living this life. We're supposed to have this glam life, etc. And then for guys, we're seeing, the guys who are getting all the women and living this and that, or the guys who got the bucks and money and doing this and that. I don't think that's what really makes people happy. I think what makes it happy for a successful relationship, one, is mutual respect for each other. Two, one of the most important things for me that works for my relationship is the ability to agree to disagree.
Oh, that is very important because listen here.
And to agree to disagree, because you're not going to always agree on everything. You're not going to see things eye to eye on stuff. But if you can respect how the other person feels,
even if you don't agree,
if you just don't agree,
right.
and it is what it is, that's key. And a lot of people, what I've found in past relationships, can't accept that.
Okay.
They get mad that you don't agree with them or don't see it that way. And it causes a lot of friction and problems.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think that's key.
Yeah.
For me. And for me, that works.
Okay.
Okay.
I do want to go back to something you said earlier when you said you feel like women don't sacrifice. Like, I'm really shocked that nobody has said anything about that, because I think, to what the young lady was saying, they bring more of the intangibles to the relationship. And they said they feel, she said that she felt like women work a lot harder, but like bringing the tangibles as far as men is concerned, she felt like that part is way easier, that women work a little bit harder because they bring more of the intangibles to the relationship. And to some degree, I can see why women feel that way, because again, like I said earlier, I think men, because if we can't quantify it, like physically touch it with, you know what I'm saying, with our hands, then we, for lack of a better word, I think we discount it. You know what I'm saying? And women flip that, like, no, you can't discount the effort that I'm putting in. But here's the thing. Women are getting the bag too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're bringing money to the table. Yeah. So now, and I talked about this last week on the podcast, we all have to show up differently for one another now. Because if women are coming to the table with their own money, where in past they probably didn't, we have to show up a little different. And now we have, because remember, I think that we all can agree as men, we're defined, and society defines us by what we make, how much money we have. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, but if the person that we're intended to try to make a life with, spend our life with, is either making as much money as we do or more, how do we show up then?
So it's funny you mentioned that. I talk about this with my friends all the time. And I personally think in the Black community, it's a conspiracy against our people personally to keep Black families apart.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with you with that.
And I see it in my everyday. I have a lot of dealings with, how can I say this? I have a lot of dealings with families that
in your line of work?
In my line of work,
okay.
in that situation. So I deal with a lot of people who receive assistance, government assistance.
Okay.
And this government assistance, it says that, we're going to take care of you and your kids, but you can't have no man in the house. So the Black man is seen as worthless and useless in the household to me. Okay. And then when the Black man is seen as worthless and useless, he's not respected in the household. And I take this back to when I was working in the corporate world years ago. And I remember there was this, I don't remember what it was called, but there was this junction that said where the government was providing tax incentives for companies to hire a certain percentage of minorities and women to work in the companies. Their tax incentive, they were incentivized to do it. And so all of a sudden, I'm seeing a bunch of sisters at work getting promoted at work because Black women met both that criteria, women and minorities.
Wow.
And to me, those were jobs that should have been for Black men. You know, and what it did was what it does and what it has done, it put a divide in the household. You know, and if your woman out earns your man in your household, it's there's no respect given to him, especially what we see in our community. We hear it all the time. I don't need no man. I don't need no man. I can take care of myself and this and that. We see that promoted in our community. It's like a badge of honor for us, for our sisters. And I hate to say it, I grew up seeing that, you know, and I've seen a lot of people see that. So what it does is it puts a divide in our family, and it puts a lesser amount of respect for our men. And yeah, it's good. You can take care of yourself and do it all by yourself and etc. But what it does in the ultimate is it keeps the Black family apart. And the numbers are in statistics. I don't know the specific numbers offhand, but we have a much larger percentage of families that are broken. And what I mean by that is households where Black children are born to unwed mothers or unwed parents than they are to, you know, parents that are wedded. And I just think in general, it just makes it harder for us it makes it, you know, more difficult for us down the road. So it's a way to keep us apart. So
yeah, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do agree with you. I do believe there is some form of conspiracy to keep Black men and women at odds with one another. Now, how that's being deployed is probably up for debate. But I do agree with you. I totally agree with you, and I speak to that a lot. I definitely believe that there are some conspiracies, but I want to give a little pushback on one of the things you said. I do hear that as well. Women saying, because I got, you know, guys I'm cool with it, I came up with. There's like women are running around here saying, oh, they don't need a man, they don't need a man. But I think some of that is generational. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. I don't want to put that as a broad stroke, a brush across all generations. I think that's more generational. I think this new generation is saying that. Yeah. Like, I really do. Like, girls my daughter's age in their 30s, they're saying that, and some of the ones that are a little younger, they're saying that. But I want to say I feel like the women that are in my age group, and I don't know, what's
48.
48. Okay, so I'm a little older than you. But I believe the women in my generation, they still want family. They still want, but they also want to be respected. And we talked about this last week. We had a really good show last week about being equal, what's considered equal. But I still think they want to be respected to what they're bringing to the table. They don't just want to be at home barefoot and pregnant, cooking and cleaning now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're in the corporate world. They got jobs, but they still want and need a man in their life. So they're not out here screaming, "Oh, I don't want a man. I don't need a man." Do they need one to take care of them financially? No, but they want all the other stuff that comes with it.
But will they? If that man is not on their same, this is where the issue comes in. I think if that man is not on their same socioeconomic level as them or above, will they have the same respect for him as if he were?
And see, I wish he was with us when we had this conversation last week.
That's the issue, I think, and I just think in general, it's harder for a lot of sisters to find that. You know, you got a lot of sisters doing well.
Yeah.
You know, I used to see it at my job when I was working. A lot of sisters doing well. A lot of managers, you know, making not a lot of six-figure people, but a lot of women making 60, 70, 80 grand a year, and it's just not the same number of men proportionate to that.
Okay.
And 8 times out of 10, I would think somebody wants somebody at least equal at their level. You know, and if you don't have somebody equal at your level, are you going to have the same kind of respect for that person as you would somebody that is equal to your level? And if you, I hear this all the time from women.
Okay.
I'm dating down, you know, I'm doing less, etc.
Right.
You know, you hear this all the time. Then if you say that you're dating down, then to me that's showing you have less of respect for the guy than you do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then if you have less respect for the guy, you're gonna treat him any kind of way. You're not going to be as I don't like to use the word submissive, but you're not going to be as.
I mean, that's fair because
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I can get it. You know what? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, we want to have your perspective as well. You want to come on up? Yeah, come on up.
He touched on so much. Is it okay?
Yes. Okay.
Good? Okay. Cool.
All right, so we got a female's perspective on what the gentleman just spoke on. We'd like to get your thoughts.
Which part you gotta help
Just
me
jump
out.
in there. Just jump in there. So one of the things he said is let's talk about because the subject matter at hand about the intangibles. What do you feel?
It's not tight. Okay.
About the intangibles?
Beginning with the intangibles, I think it's context to me. Initially, like when we start dating, it's kind of your representative comes forward, or how we attract each other, or what we're attracted to. I think that's kind of where I agree with the video, what she was trying to say. Initially, at attraction, I think, and part of what society says that we're supposed to be looking for, what you're supposed to be, men supposed to be protectors and providers. We're looking for the man with money, and you in turn are kind of presenting in that like you have to have a car, look like you have money.
I just want to just jump in and say this. Is that considered providing and protection though?
I'm saying it kind of starts there. The real reason, but then we equate that to that means the man with money. And in turn, what we interpret as what a man is looking for is the physical. And that's why you see when we're trying to attract a man, we're trying to be as cute as we can, whatever. So I think the beginning or the start of how we attract each other, to her point, are those things of men come with the money, women have to be beautiful or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think once you get beyond that, I don't know that, and I can't speak for all women, just women in my circle, what I've seen, it may start that way, but that's not enough.
You mean not enough as far as
to sustain a relationship?
Okay.
So you can't just have a man that's bringing home the bank. You know how many unhappy women, they living well, they're not happy. It's because those other intangible things that are needed in a relationship are missing.
Exactly. Yes.
The same for a man. You can have that trophy wife. She's gorgeous. But if it's air flowing around and leaves blowing in the head, I don't know how long that man is going to stay happy.
Yeah.
So I think your starting point, and then a lot of things, some things come with maturity or whatever. But maybe we start off kind of that superficial realm of, oh, he got bread, or oh, she fine, look at big booty, tiny waist. But does that sustain, or does that allow you to progress healthy into a healthy relationship or marriage? I don't think so.
Yeah. So what do you feel about what he said about women running around? He said, "Oh, I don't need a man." What are
He's
your?
not wrong.
Okay.
Women are saying that, and I think part of that is another point that he made. That and to what you said as well. Some of that's generational. Some of that we know from slavery forward. We've been conditioned to not be reliant upon a man, and that was intentional. And I think that's still present today.
Absolutely.
So I think it's kind of two-part, and generationally too, what you were saying, because like generations back, our grandmother maybe kind of got that perspective. You can't rely on a man. She in turn is going to teach her daughter, be independent, self-reliant. You can't count on a man. And that's been moved forward generationally. I mean, some people may disagree, but I've seen that.
Yeah.
I know me personally, my mother instilled in us girls to have your own. Now, does that equate to I don't need a man? That may or may not,
So how did you make the transition? And, without getting into, a whole lot of our stuff, but like, how did you make that transition to like, from that mindset to being a wife and saying, hey, you know, I do need you for X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you make that? What was the steps you took and to become a wife, somewhat submissive wife? So what did you do?
Air quotes.
Well, I mean,
excuse.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
I think it's a matter of interpretation.
Uh-huh.
So if you get into semantics, no offense, and I think some people take that definition far too literal. Do I need a man, or do I need anybody for that matter?
Yeah.
Meaning, if I didn't have a man, would I just drop dead?
Right.
No.
Right.
So I think taking it literal, then yeah, you could say that. And I think there's a matter of how you need a man. You know what I'm saying? So for me, personally, yeah, I do. And not like I couldn't survive, or I wouldn't be able to eat, or wouldn't be able to, you know, sustain my life without another person. No.
Yeah.
But the intangibles, those things, you absolutely, and wanting a man too. So I think maybe some women just kind of thought, I don't need a man. You want a man.
I think that's almost like when you hear women who don't say they've been having difficulty having kids, they'll say, "Oh, I don't want no kids." But I think deep down inside, they do want kids. It's been difficult, and I don't know. And
there's some women that legitimately don't want kids.
True, they don't want kids,
or maybe pushing back that we're conditioned some. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to get married. We're supposed to have babies, and that it's a negative connotation to wanting a career or whatever. Some women legitimately don't want children.
Yeah.
And I think it's a big responsibility.
Yeah, it is. And you know what's so funny is that I think that there are a lot of women who are bucking against the traditional system. You know what I'm saying? Being a traditional wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like you said, I don't want no kids. I want to be a wife, but I don't want no kids. I want to be able to just travel and do my thing. And I think you just need to know who you're with at the end of the day. I think you just need to know who's coming to the table, what they're coming to the table with, and understanding that, and then being able to deal with that in reality, not hoping and wishing that this person is going to be the person that you want them to be, but dealing with the person as is, what they're bringing, you know, whatever they bring to the table.
Not necessarily bucking against the system. You also have to keep in mind, I think it's in all areas, we have to redefine a lot of what we're talking about. So it may not be that a woman's bucking against the system, where like in my grandmother's era, that she didn't have the options and or choices that we have today, women have today. So maybe it's kind of embracing those options, or wanting to, now I have the option of, I don't have to, it's not a necessity for me to get married, where, you know, back in the day, I needed a man because I could, I'm not gonna get hired, I'm not gonna get a job. I need to be cared for. I need somebody here to provide for these children, whatever the case may be. That definition has changed.
And to his point that he made earlier, when he was saying that they were creating these jobs because Black women were filling this role, they were minority and they were women. With, you know, he was saying that he felt like these jobs should have been going to men, but they were going to women. So now women have a more.
I'm sorry. That's when I was kind of like, oh.
Yeah. So women are having this opportunity, like you said. Well, we don't need them. I don't need you in terms of financially, because there's opportunities out there for me to make my own money now. But go ahead. You wanted to give pushback on what he was saying earlier.
Just a tiny bit.
Okay.
You are right. Women were being promoted, and because, you know, there was incentives involved with that, but it was a catch to that as well. And I know that while Black women began to be promoted for that reason and those incentives, they weren't compensated the same. And I've had, like, back in the day, early on starting to work.
Don't mention no company's name.
Mentioning
okay.
I'm not
okay.
A manager explained to me that they were starting to change their approach, but it was a case where men were paid more because they were seen as head of household. So if it comes time for merit increase time, you and I are both managers, we're doing the same job, your increase will be higher because it's understood that you're leading a household. Whereas me, I'm just a woman in the workforce, my increase would be substantially less. So whereas now we're getting these opportunities in title, speaking from a compensation standpoint, it is not the same. Yeah. And
I think, and that's interesting that you say that, because if we still want to promote this idea that, to what the young man was saying earlier, that men are, if you're not making the kind of money and you're not looked at as equal, and your woman is not treating you with the respect you should have because you're not making the money, is society, I guess, trying to force that? Like, so what I'm saying is that they want to make sure that the man, when it's come time for raises, the man is going to get a little bit higher increase than the woman. So, because to your point, he is considered the head of the household, so that that part is being sustained. But then there's a lot of women who out here getting money
I don't
that
know if
outside
that's the case anymore.
Okay.
I don't want to date myself.
Yeah.
We're talking long time. I don't know if that's still the case, but I'm sure elements of that still remain.
Well,
there.
no, statistically, like you said, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I think if you Googled it, and because that's still a fight today, that women are not paid what men are paid. So I think that's still the case. But is that motivated behind the motivation behind that, to what you spoke about earlier, is making sure men stay head of the household? I mean, that's probably another. I mean, we could probably go down a rabbit hole.
I think it's so nuanced. Like what he's saying, it is some truth to that. To where there are women out earning men and out there trying to date. I've heard that term too. Women say, "I'm dating down," or "I'm not finding a man that makes what I make, so I'm gonna have to kind of like lower the bar or whatever." And in doing that, that would kind of communicate, a sense of I'm better than or whatever. I see your point, and I hadn't thought about it in that perspective, because I heard women make those statements of, I'm not. I guess I'll have to kind of lower my standards, so I'm dating down, or they end up dating outside their race, race. But I think again we come back to a level of maturity that, like I hope that I can say for both of you, you know what I'm saying? There, you didn't get that woman that has that kind of perspective, and who recognizes that husband is husband and head of household, regardless of what's going on. To your point, things could change tomorrow. I mean, things over the course of the marriage are going to change could change where the man is making more, or maybe he's making less. And as we go back to the topic of last week, where it's a partnership, that's where,
Yep.
Okay, I'm yapping enough.
Yeah, I thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your perspective.
All the conversation about women. I'm like, there's a woman.
Well, I appreciate your perspective. I think that this is a very diverse topic, and that it can have, like, as my wife stated, it has so many nuances. We can go down so many avenues. You both made some very good points. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. You can leave the camera right there. Yep. We made so many valid points. I think it just kind of really goes back to what we were talking about on the last show, is that about being what is considered equal. Because one person makes more money than the other person, should they be devalued? Should you be emasculated, either sex, on the premises that you make more money? Come on up here, brother. Yeah, come on back up here. Yeah, come on up.
I see this all the time.
Yeah, come on up.
That's one thing.
Yeah,
so,
no.
I just want to say this. I wanted to say this beforehand, but I another big issue that this happens with, I think it starts young for young Black men. I think a lot of young Black boys are emasculated by our mothers, myself included. It's funny. I had a conversation. I'm using my own personal thing here.
Okay.
I had a conversation with my mother 2 years ago, and I brought it up to her. I mean, I'm older now. I understand it, etc.
Yeah.
But I said to her, Mom, when I was a kid, when I was a young kid, you always dogged my dad out. Said, men ain't shit, Black men ain't shit.
Let me ask you: was your mother and father still together? Are they still together?
No, they were married for 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
And got divorced.
Okay.
After the divorce, it changed. My mother was
bitter. Okay.
Yeah, bitter. Yeah, bitter. That's the only way I can say it. That's the only way I can say it. My mother was bitter.
A woman scorned.
Yeah. And I heard it throughout growing up.
You look like your daddy?
No.
Okay.
My sister looks more like my daddy. I look more like my mom.
Okay.
but I heard it growing up, and it was exactly what you guys talked about just earlier. My mother told my sister, you know, men ain't shit. You take care of yourself. You could do this and that. Blah 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 blah. And I was more emasculated, you know, and I just see that happening to a lot of young Black guys now. You know, I'm in a lot of homes now that I visit and see, and I see this happening to a lot of young Black boys. And what that does, what I see is that it's not equipped. It doesn't equip our young guys to be ready to lead for relationships when they become older. I see a lot of our sisters making their young girls be the leaders in their relationships and run their relationships. Okay. And a lot of times, you know, you get what's called, I know you guys have heard this whole beta, alpha, BS bullshit that's going on. I'm sorry to cut.
No, you're okay. We're growing on this conversation.
Right. I think a lot of times it's difficult for, and I'm talking about just in our relationship. I'm talking about Black people in general, Black folks. I think it's difficult for men to come in and to try to be leaders in our relationships. I think we've been, our women have been so, what's the word I'm looking for here? I think our women have been so tainted and turned that you can't do this. I've been doing this for the longest. I'm running this show, and can't nobody tell me what to do. I don't need your help. Blah blah blah. It's worn as like a badge of honor that a man can't come in, and a guy has to fight to try to be able to come in and lead in the relationship, and that starts all the way back from childhood. So it's difficult for men to come in and to be able to try to lead. So what the option is left with is those that, not to say aren't natural leaders, but those who have more of a beta type mentality, and those who are just going to kind of accept what this we're basically going to let the woman run the show. And usually, not always, but usually when the woman is running the show, the same order and type of respect isn't there. That's all. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That was deep, brother. Yeah. That was deep. I never.
And I'll just say this. I saw this the other day. Just to give you an example.
Yeah.
I went over to a property, and I was going to do something for somebody, for this lady that owns this place. I mean, that lives in the property of mine, and her boyfriend was there playing on the couch, playing some video games or something, and I was wanting to put up a blind for her or whatever. So I was putting up a blind for her, and I asked the guy, I said, "Hey man, you want me to show you?" Because I couldn't believe she called me over here to ask her to put a blind up for her. And so I'm over here putting the blind. I asked the young brother, I said, "Bro, you want me to show you how to, put up this blind?" Yeah, no. And then she's standing right here at the corner, in between the doorway. He don't need to do that. He can't do that. He can't do nothing. Blah, blah, blah. Just dogging, disrespecting him
right
in front of me.
Yeah.
Like talking to him like he a kid.
Wow.
And just, she said some other stuff. I don't remember specifically, but just not talking to him like he's a man. Not giving him any kind of respect, making him
feel small,
and talking to him like that in front of somebody else,
another man. Yeah.
And I've seen that I've seen that quite often.
Wow.
And it's just what a lot of us have been taught. And I don't know how we change that. And like I said, I think it starts from childhood. It starts from, and I think
in those development years.
Years. And I think the only way you change that is you have two family-led households, which unfortunately isn't in abundance in our community. It's separated in our community. If you only have a one family-led household, and that one family led household plays both roles, it's going to change. And what I mean by the mother playing both roles, the male and female role, it gives that strong, masculine, dominant role. Both children, the female and the male, are going to see that, take on that persona and expect that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And you grow up thinking that, and then you're prepared. The relationships, what you see for relationships, it makes it backwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. That was some good insight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. I didn't think about it from that perspective. That was definitely very insightful, brother. And I don't know, and you're right. I don't know how do we change that? You know, you says he says something about women wear that as a badge of honor. I think our women, black women wear that as a badge of honor, but I also think it's a burden on them as well.
It is, but they don't see it as a burden.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's
seen as that.
Yeah, I think it's been a double-edged sword. Like they've worn it as a badge of honor, and I think when I say they wear it as a badge of honor, I think those are the women that are saying, "Oh, I don't need a man." But then you have some, and it's a little difficult because when you and even if that wasn't the case, I think when you bring in two entities together who were, even though we got the same skin, same color skin, we might have been raised differently. So how we enter into this relationship is going to be different. How we show up for one another is going to be different based on how our mothers, our grandmothers, our grandfathers raised us. It's going to be a little bit different. So now we're talking about bringing two businesses together and meshing them together. We got two CEOs. To some degree, we got two CEOs who used to running their businesses their way. Now we got to figure out, how do we come to the table? Because we don't have a board. It's just me and you. How do we work this out? And we got to figure out a way to make that happen. But I agree with you. I think there are some women who are wearing it as a badge of honor, but I think there are some women who are wearing it as a burden. They don't necessarily want it. Like, they want to have a man to take some of that off of their plate. They want a man so they can have a soft place to land, that they don't at night, they're not crying into their they don't want to be crying into their pillow because they got to figure it out on their own, you know. And even those women who have husbands and men still find it difficult to relinquish some of that power because they've been doing it on their own for so long. But to my wife's point, it's the conversation. Like, it's the conversation. Hey, babe, I understand you're here. You want to take some of this off of me, but I've been doing it by myself for so long. So just give me a minute. What can I do to help ease you into the situation so that I can, so that you can trust me to know that I got your back. I'm going to help you with this, you know? And as men, we probably don't talk about it a lot, but there's some things that we need to let go of too, and allow them to say, hey, it's okay. I know the world is beating you down, but I got you, you know? So I think it all just, it definitely boils down to having that conversation with one another, and just being able, and I say this all the time, just helping the other person unpack their luggage and be willing to help them do that. But the thing is recognizing that you do have luggage that need to be unpacked. That's it. Knowing that you have luggage that need to be unpacked, and willing to, it's one thing to know that, but willing to do something about it. And allowing your partner the grace and allowing your partner the grace, and giving their partner the grace to say, hey, it's okay. I know we're both still working in this transition period, but we're going to get through it. So I think it's important having the conversation. So let's do a little, we got a little late in the show. I want to go ahead and play some of the questions from the game. All right. Looks like some of these I've repeated, but we're going to go through them anyway. All right. So Smokey Robinson and the Miracle said they don't like you, but they what? Love you is the correct answer. We got some old school in the building. All right. You got to catch up over there, youngster. All right. When did Sam and Dave want you to lean on them? No. When did Sam and Dave want you to lean on them? Almost. You close.
Oh, I don't know.
When times are bad.
Oh.
All right. The stylistic said, I know this above you. This is past your generation. What you say? How old you say you was? 48? 48. Okay. And who might know this? You scratch off your daddy's records. You might know. The stylistic said that she was a genie in disguise filled with wonder and what else? Surprise is it. Do you know who the stylists are?
I've heard of them.
You said you heard of
I
them.
have heard
That's
of
so
them.
upset.
I've heard of them, but
I felt a great ear.
Oh God. Okay. How do still waters run? Deep. That is correct. All right. I feel bad. I need to read something he can get. All right. What did the man sell to get his ticket for the midnight train to Georgia? A, his bike. B, his old house. C, his old horse. Or D, his old car. His old car is correct. All right. Where did Mary Jane take Rick James? Where did Mary Jane take Rick James?
Oh, I can't. Oh, sing it.
Don't tell me you don't know this one.
I can't get the text. Sing the song. Oh well, I don't know.
You don't clue? You don't know? You don't know who Rick James is?
I know who Rick James.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
To Paradise.
Paradise.
All right. And I Want You Back. What stood out in the crowd? I don't even know who this is. I would have been standing there looking crazy on this one because I don't even know who this is. And I Want You Back. What stood out in the crowd? Those pretty faces. Close enough. All right. And Reach Out. I'll Be There. Why may you feel that you can't go on? I don't know who this is either because I wouldn't have got this one. And Reach Out. I'll Be There. Why may you feel that you can't go on? I don't know who the artist is for this. You don't know? Because all of your hope is gone. All right. Yeah. She's probably somewhere asleep after last night. What did Friends of Distinction say gazing in the grass is? What? Who was this?
It's gas.
Yeah. Who is that? What artist is that? Oh, okay.
They play it as a, you heard it on commercial.
Okay. All right. In Sweet Thing, Shaka Khan told him to love her now or she will do what? Yep, that's it. All right, here's another one. In Float On, Ralph told us that his zodiac sign in which one of the following? A, Virgo, B, Sagittarius, C, Aquarius, or D, Scorpio? Float on.
I don't know.
You don't know this one? Okay.
I don't know who's the sign.
All right. It's Aquarius.
Okay.
All right. What did the drifters say they'll be making under the boardwalk?
Dang.
Yep, that's it. Making love. Yep. Okay. All right. The undisputed truth had proof that smiling faces do what? A, tell lies. B, tell the truth. C, cheat on you. Or D, are rare. Smile. That is it. Correct. I got you. Fontanella Bass says she was lonely and what else? A, blue. C, crying. C, mad. Or D, desperate. No? Okay. Blue. I don't know who that is either. All right. So let's get back to the subject matter at hand. I do want to play the video for anybody who is just tuning in so you can see what the subject matter we're talking about today. Give me your feedback.
Come with nothing, but men have to come with everything.
That's not true. I believe that tangibly, men have to come with way more, but intangibly, women have to come with way more. And the intangibles are way harder than the tangibles. So who's working harder? I think that in order for a man to really get the type of woman that he wants, yes, you do have to be successful mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, and energetically.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of women will settle for just financially. And that sucks. But a lot of men use that as a crutch.
That is true.
Like, oh, this is enough. No, it's not.
Because they define their worth in their network.
Yeah.
But that's because the world made it seem like men are only valuable if they got money.
And they make it seem like women are only valuable if they're beautiful.
Yikes.
It's just the truth. That's why beauty is a part of being high value for a masculine man, because the first thing that they look for is physical.
Yeah, that I think that when men come to the table, we definitely have to, especially in this day and age. What I really want to do is I really want to talk to women who are in this dating stage now. Like, I want to see what are their views on dating now, like, especially if you've been, say, in a long-term committed relationship and now you're back out here in the dating field, or maybe you were married and you're recently divorced or widowed and you're back out in the dating field. What are you seeing out there? What's going on? I've heard some women say, who are in relationships because they have friends who are single, like they so glad that they're not out in the dating field, but you're gonna get different perspectives just depending on, I guess, who you're talking to and the friends you have and who they're dating and stuff like that. So you're gonna get different perspectives. But like I said, I found this topic to be very interesting because, like I said, I love those conversations that kind of have men and women button up against one another, because I think I like to break that down. Like, how can we get rid of that? How can we get rid of that divisiveness, to what the other brother was brought to the table earlier, that it is by design that's keeping Black men and women at odds with one another. But how can we erase that? What can we do to make sure that that's not the case, that we can figure out a way to find some common ground? Are there some things out there that are legitimately plaguing Black women and that are plaguing Black men? Absolutely. I totally agree with that. There are some things that are plaguing Black men and plaguing Black women that are what's the word I'm looking for? That are not unique to just men or women. But then there are some things that are just unique to women, and there are some things that are just unique to men. The thing is just to being able to, when they are just uniquely defined towards women, that men have to give the women the grace and help them to understand. They need to help us to understand what those things are and how can we help them, and vice versa. Like, whenever there are things that are just specifically plaguing Black men, that we be strong enough to be vulnerable to our women to say, hey, this is what's going on with me. Because while I can explain something to another Black man and what's going on with me, I can explain it to my wife. She may not get it, but I can talk to a brother and he get it right off. No different than a Black woman can talk to one of her girlfriends, tell her what's going on, and she get it right off. And you try to talk to your husband or your man, and he doesn't understand it. But if I am to be your best friend, your soft place to land, but I need you to help me to help you so that I can be that place for you. Of course, there are certain conversations I don't even want to have with my wife. Go talk to your girl. I don't even want to have that conversation with you. But I'm there for you if you absolutely need me to be. But some conversations, I don't want to talk to you about that. That's what you could call one of your girlfriends. Call your girl and have a conversation with her. But I am available to that. And I'm being facetious now. But I think we just need to be able to give each other the grace to be able to have those kind of conversations with one another so that we can be that for the other person. We definitely need to be able to do that. But again, I want to talk about what are the intangible. What if you have an example of an intangible that is brought to a relationship that you can't put a dollar value on? I want you to drop that in the chat window. I want to know what those intangibles are. Talk to me about it, because I think those are the things that are highly discounted in relationship on both sides, on both the man and the woman's part, that are not valued. But it's a beautiful thing, I think, when you can be in the moment and realize what your significant other is doing for you. And you're like, wow, you know what I'm saying? I'm so glad I got him or her, because I don't want to have to I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. You know, and I'm not talking about paying the maintenance man coming through or none of that. I'm talking about, and I'm just going to toss one out there. You know, maybe changing the light bulbs in the house, making sure the trash is taken out, mowing the lawn, making sure your wife has gas in her car, taking her car to the car wash, cleaning her car out when she knows she done junked it up, and you just cleaning it out and throwing all that stuff away. You done got it and you about to take her car and it's just trash everywhere. And I'm just, just taking it all out. You know, this is so funny. I always said to tell the story. So my wife, I remember when we kind of first got together and we were, you know, in our early stages of our relationship and marriage, trying to figure things out. She told me she don't mind doing the laundry. She don't like the folding part. Me, I don't mind doing nothing about the laundry. I don't mind separating the clothes. I don't mind washing them. I don't mind folding them. My wife, she don't like folding. She'll separate them. She'll even wash them. So I was like, don't worry about it. So I went down there, separated the clothes, and guess what? I found out she didn't want me separating the clothes. She didn't like how I separated the clothes. So she went down there and separated the clothes. At first, I had a problem with it. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. She separated the clothes. Then I found out, not only did she separate the clothes, she had a little pile of just her stuff that she washed. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why you just don't wash it all? But I was like, picking your battles. I said, let me just pick my battle. But so, like I said, I don't mind doing none of the stuff that when it comes to laundry. Went to folding the towels. Come to discover, I would put the towels up, put all the clothes up. She come behind me, get the towels out of the thing where we hold them at, and refold them. Because she didn't like the way I was folding the towel. Because her grandmother folded the towels. So I'm like, but you know what? And I gave a little pushback, but I was like, you know what? I don't care. She used to come while I was folding stuff. And as soon as I had got to a point where I would just give her the towels and just let her fold them. But sometimes she wouldn't be home when I do it. And if she just so happened to go in the linen closet and see the towel, she'll take them out and refold them. But I got to a point, I was like, I don't care. I folded them. If you want to go behind me and do it, that's on you. But you know what ended up happening? What she did ended up wearing off on me. And so now I fold the towels the way her grandmother showed her how to fold the towels. Whatever. And I say all that to say that you do have to, you pick some things are gonna just wear off on your mate, and you just have to figure out what those things are, and really just like pick your battles. I can't say that enough. It's so very important in a relationship, whether you're married or not. Is picking your battles. Everything don't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be a fight. You want to say something? You want to come up? Yeah, come on up. Yeah, absolutely. Come on up. The more the merrier. Yeah, I know you've been definitely. Yeah, you make sure you come on back next Sunday, brother. And I want to talk to you and your wife too. I want to get y'all on my show.
Definitely.
Yeah. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I just want to say one big intangible for me with my wife was.
I hope she tuned in so she can appreciate this. Go ahead.
She's out on a lunch brunch date right now, brunch with her friends right now.
Okay.
So, it was her when we were dating. It was her even before we started dating. It was her cooking a meal for me. So I didn't cook at all. I ate out all the time, or I had people that when I was single, I had people who I would pay people to cook me meals through the week or something like that. Meal prepping. Yeah. Well, I didn't do any meal prep, but they would make me something that would last for a couple of days, and then at the time, I ended up having a big change in my life. I ended up getting my daughter full custody of my daughter
Mhm.
full time. I went from an every weekend dad to a full-time dad every day.
Okay.
So had to do something different, you know,
Mhm.
with instead of eating out and stuff all the time.
Mhm.
And my wife, she made sure, she was like, hey, I made some food. I'm gonna bring you guys some food. And
Mhm.
she did that several times a week.
Wow.
Just because, and you would be surprised of a difference that made for me, you know. And I had dated before and a lot of people before, and a lot of the women I dated did not cook. Did not know how to cook, wasn't trying to learn how to cook, wasn't trying, did not, you know,
Yeah.
just as simple, just cooking a home cooked meal. It didn't even have to be a perfect meal, but even just trying to cook. A lot of babes, a lot of women there, their refrigerators were more empty than mine, you know.
Wow. And they had kids?
And some did and some didn't.
Okay.
But even the ones with kids, just
wow,
they weren't cooking like that, you know. Wow. And it's just, and that was, you would just think a home cooked meal was that significant to me,
mm-hmm.
because that was something that was missing. I mean, that made a big.
Did your mom do a cooking?
My mom cooked, yeah.
Okay.
But well, my grandma was more the big cook. My
Okay.
grandmother growing up, especially when I got grown, I lived around the corner from my grandma. My grandma had a meal ready for my grandfather every day. And she used to call me every day and say, Bernard, I got a meal ready, you know, come on around. I come around for dinner every day. So she had his meal ready every day.
Wow.
And I don't see that now. I mean, I benefit from that now, but just in general, I don't see that.
How long were your grandmother and grandfather together when they married?
Was past 50, 55 years. They were married a long time. Yeah, you don't see that no more. Not at all. Not awesome. Like that.
Yeah. And it's so funny that when you talk to people and you find out, like I say, you dating somebody and you find out their parents are still together, you're like, huh?
Yeah.
Your mother and father still together?
You know what? I found that a prerequisite for looking for a wife when I started looking for a wife.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted somebody who had both their parents in their life. I just found it was a difference. And I thought back to my dating over the years, and I found that I had better relationships with women who had both their parents in the household, who had that father figure in the household. Now, the reason why some of those relationships didn't work was because I was not ready, or I was immature at the time. But understanding that when I got older, I actually looked for that.
Okay.
And it made a big difference.
Okay.
So I would say that to any gentlemen who are looking for wives now, if you have a special person who had both their parents there, it makes at least I think it makes a difference.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it does. I think you have to, kids need both their parents. They really do. I don't think they need both their parents if one parent is suffering from some form of trauma and they just not abuse and they're just not able to give that child what they need. But it's imperative that both parents are in their life, whether you're co-parenting or you're in the same house. Like I think you don't think co-parenting.
I think co-parenting is okay, but well, let me say this back. I'll take that back a little bit. For a wife specifically, that her father had a prominent role in her life. Okay. So if the parents were not married, not together, the father had an active role in her life. Okay,
that matters.
She had somebody a male to look up to and respect.
Gotcha.
That's
okay.
Very
that's the
important.
caveat. I get what you're saying. Yeah. That I can definitely understand that a father who was taking an active role. So like kind of like you were taking an active role in your daughter's life, even though you and the mother wasn't together, you were taking an active role in your daughter's life, and then you, for whatever reason, you had to take over full custody. But I think that matters, because you have, just like the what's the old term that women have daddy issues, men have mommy issues. Yeah. You know, men have mommy issues, and I think and I don't think it's ever been said, there's some men who have daddy issues.
Yeah.
There are men who have daddy issues. Like it's so important, because I believe the burden on, and it kind of goes back to our conversation earlier, there's been a lot of burden been placed on our Black women. You know what I'm saying? They've been having to carry the burden. A lot of it, you know, to what my wife was saying earlier about how, you know, going back to slavery, how they emasculated the man in front of the woman, made them look less than, and then shoved them off to another plantation where they will probably never see each other again.
Right.
But when you have that dynamic, men needing their fathers, which puts burden on us, me and you, me not knowing how to interact with you as a man. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why it's always so special when you see other brothers embracing one another too. You know what I'm saying? Because I think we miss that too, not having our fathers in our life. My father wasn't very prominent in my life. You know, it's not like I had wanted him to. When he was around, I mean, I soaked it up, but he wasn't as prominent in my life as I would have liked it to. So I tried to make sure I made a difference in my child's life. I was a little bit more present in my daughter's life or in all my kids' life rather, than my father was in my life. And I think that matters.
So I'm gonna say this too. I'm glad you said that. So my dad was very present in me and my sister's lives.
Okay.
So even though my parents got divorced when I was 6 years old, my dad picked us up every Friday, every weekend for years. Me and my mother didn't speak for years, but he picked us up every Friday through Sunday. My dad was the neighborhood dad.
Okay.
You can ask Marty. He's like a second father to Marty. For years, for everybody. He took care of the neighborhood, basically. And even though he was like that, I heard all these negative views and negative connotations from my mother about him because of their mishap. So I heard all these negative and bad things about him, but I'm like, wait a minute, my dad's not black. I don't see that. You know what I'm saying? She tried to
malign him.
She gave him a bad view towards him, and towards him, and he really was not. He wasn't like that towards us. And it wasn't until I got older to understand it was because of her hurt from their relationship.
It didn't work.
That caused that. And I honestly think that's another big issue. And I don't think that's just within our community. I think that's with in all communities in general, when relationships don't work out and parents alienate their children against the other parent. I think that's I don't think that's just a typical for Black.
No, it's not. I don't think it's
for us. But just hearing that and seeing that, but then seeing something different, like she's telling me this, but my dad is doing I don't see that. It makes you torn. And as a kid, you don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? So
but I'm glad you brought that back up, because I do wanted to touch on that. Like, I think it's one, when parents separate, you definitely don't want to involve the kids in the middle of what, whatever's going on. Yeah. And I'll say that I remember when I was coming up, my mother and father, when they separated, my mother never spoke bad about my dad. Never spoke bad about my dad.
That's wonderful.
What she would do, we kind of had to learn it for ourselves. Like the opposite of you, your daddy coming to get you. So, what we would do? Have our stuff packed, wait by that door. He never came.
So she let you see it for yourself.
She let me see it for myself.
Yeah.
But guess what? My mama loved that man to the day she died.
Wow.
She loved him to the day she died. That was her first love. But I say all that to say, you don't have to speak ill. Your mama spoke ill of your father, but you saw a different side of him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was gonna say, you don't have to say anything. Your kids gonna see it for themselves.
Yeah.
They know who show up for them. You don't have to say nothing.
Yeah.
You don't have to say absolutely. Same thing with my daughter. Mama's same thing.
Right.
But my daughter, so not only did she see different with me, the people around her, with the exception of her mother, told her, like, that's not your daddy. Right. No. You know what I'm saying? And she like, well, what in the heck? So of course it caused a little rift, but we were able to, somewhat mend some of that. But yeah, you don't have to do anything when your kids, you don't have to do that. Yeah. They'll see for themselves. Yeah, they're smart enough. They will see for themselves.
It's funny. It's so funny you mentioned that. I learned that with my daughter when I ended up getting her full time. For the first several years, we had we had some rifts with her mother, what I would say poisoning her because her mother lost custody of her. And now as the years have gone on, my daughter has seen the difference and kind of understands now why things were the way they were. And I always heard this when I was some years ago saying, just give it time. When she gets older, she's mature, she'll see it. And now she understands it. We've had talks about this, and she understands why things happen the way they did. So you do got to give it time, but it's hard to see it at the time when you're going through it. Or
it
whatnot,
is.
You know what I'm saying?
It is. It absolutely is. But yeah, listen, brother, I thank you. I thank you for showing up, man, and being here and offering your perspective. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, guys, we are going to end it right there. It's been a great show. I thank everybody for tuning in. Again, don't forget, if you have any subject matter that you would like to see discussed on our show, go ahead and either inbox me at soletsargue@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page and leave your comments and stuff there. But I want to go ahead and end it right there. Thank you for everybody in my studio audience. I want you to everybody give yourselves a round of applause. Appreciate everybody for coming out. And people at home, give yourself a hand clap as well. Until next time, I'll see you. May there be peace between you until the next time we meet. Peace.